If it was necessary to properly toll 520 and I-90, then we should definitely look into doing it right.
That's kind of a great segue into the viaducts. You know, you and I had an email exchange, and I was trying to say, so hey, Dorsol, where do you fall on this? And at the Chamber of Commerce, you had said, I support the board tunnel, but you explained to me that it's a nuanced position, that maybe if you'd been there from the beginning, you wouldn't necessarily have adopted it, but now that kind of the horse is out of the barn, did I say that right?
Yeah.
That you, you know, it would hurt Seattle to be an obstructionist on the issue. Is that an accurate sort of summary of kind of where you're at?
Pretty much. I think when we say it would hurt Seattle long run, we'd actually be hurting ourselves in two different directions. If I had been on the council at the time, I would have voted against the board tunnel. I live in West Seattle. I got here using the viaduct. This isn't just an eyesore to me. This is a means of transportation. If you tear down the viaduct, my bus route goes away. It's going to have to be rerouted somewhere else. However, there are so many problems with the present concept that they've already gone forward with that we need to make sure that while we're busy trying to stop the board tunnel, that they don't go ahead and continue ramming it down our throats and then build a project that's not even going to work for us. They said part of the reason that they're using a board tunnel is because of the need to move freight. Well, none of the businesses in the north end of the viaduct say that the board tunnel's north portal will accommodate any of the freight they're talking about. So we'd be in essence building something that wouldn't work. The overcharge agreement, that could potentially run Seattle really far, really deep with a lot of money. And I don't, it's not even so much the risk of that, but I don't agree with the concept of it, even just the very root concept of it. And it'd also be hurting us because the rest of the state of Washington is already angry and upset at paying for something that they feel would only benefit Seattle. We've got to, one of the things that I'd like to see done differently, one of the reasons that I'm running is we need to repair our relations with ships with both King County and with Olympia if we're actually going to continue accomplishing what we've set out to do. And we've continually cut off those ties with Olympia by being obstructionist and grinding up the gears and stopping it. Now I've heard from several different people that they've got their groups in both environmental agencies and, believe it or not, I was told the other day a historical agency is considering filing for the viaduct being a historical landmark to stop it from tearing down. If those opportunities presented themselves while I was on the council, I would accept them and move forward with stopping the board tunnel. But right now, the fight is so much more with making sure what they've already voted on and passed and signed works, that I feel as someone running for city council and on the city council, I need to focus to make sure that they're not going to force something that doesn't work on us.
Am I hearing, so if you had your druthers and you could wave a magic wand and the relations with Olympia and so forth weren't an obstacle, that something like a retrofit or a new elevated viaduct, is that the route that you would go then? Or, you know, you got a list of options on the table.
Yeah.
Which one is your number one, you know, all things being equal?
The idea that I've heard that'll work to accommodate everyone is putting the north-south traffic underground. And I can't believe while being filmed that what it's called is where they lay down the top on top of it, and then you have a surface transit option directly on top of the north to south traffic. So you're not cutting out bus flow, you're still allowing for rapid transit to go from West Seattle to downtown.
Is that like the Frank Chop thing?
Yes.
That he put forward? Kind of the with shops and so forth on the bottom?
Oh, not exactly.
Okay.
I like that, but it's actually, it'll end up being surface level. It's slightly bored down into the ground, and then road is put down on top. It's similar to the Battery Street tunnel is.
The trench?
Yes.
There was a trench or something.
The trench,
like that
yeah.
You're talking about?
Yeah, there's a term for it. I should remember it.
Okay.
I can't.
Okay.
I think retrofit at this moment is really our only option. We need something that's going to work, we need something that's going to stand, and at the moment, we really don't seem to have the money for any of the other options.
One, I think that'll probably be the last question I ask about this issue, and I know we got to talk about other ones, but when we look at the amount of taxation that's going on, people say, government, get off my back, or we can't stifle our business sector. And then, you and other people have also said we can't get in the way of, this is an unstoppable train. But at the same time, building the tunnel will require almost $1 billion from the city in new taxes and new fees. So isn't it sort of a double switch to say, on the one hand, maybe we'll cut you a tax over here, but then we're also going to hike your utility rates and some other taxes and fees so we can build on the waterfront. And as a council member, you would have to vote on those issues. So what about all that stuff?
It's one of those catch-22 situations. Everyone likes to hear their taxes are being cut while projects that they feel are important are moving forward. There are a lot of people that support the Board Tunnel, not just downtown businesses, and they want to hear that's moving forward while hearing their taxes are going down. Mm-hmm. I think that one of the ways that we can go about doing this is looking at the very root of how the city spends its money. I think that we find ourselves wasting a lot of the money that we could be saving through various, from the recent travel expenses that were investigated recently, to some of the way that we go about doing our process. We hold a public forum that we only invite certain people to and spend all the money to do that, and then a couple weeks later, when people actually find out about the project, where's the public forum? Well, we got to go back and we got to do that, and then go back again and actually translate so everyone that lives in the neighborhood is welcomed and not just the individuals who speak English. If we actually looked at the way that we spend our money and started cutting some of the faulty programs that are still being spent, I think that we would have a whole other look at how much we need to raise or lower the taxes presently in the city.
Thanks.
Because there's so many projects that are underfunded, like sidewalks to the north and south neighborhoods, suppose you look at the budget, you cut all the fat that there is to cut. Would you support new taxes? Would you support new taxes to residents? Would you support new taxes to business? Who would you not support new taxes for?
Well, I've already mentioned the congestion charge idea, which could potentially put money specifically in the transportation budget, where we see a lot of those projects waiting, sidewalks specifically. I can tell you right now that our residences are taxed to the limit. It's not a question of whether or not I want to tax them more, it's literally that they're taxed to the limit. People now are paying more on their property taxes than they've ever paid on their house. That's the reason that we're in the problem that we're in right now, and not something that we continue with. When we talk about specific projects like the Board Tunnel, one of the things that I've started talking about putting out there is windfall profit taxes. Obviously, there are some individuals that are going to benefit more when you can double the price of a condo because you suddenly have waterfront property. I feel that there should be a slight tax increase to accommodate that, because you benefited more from a project that every one of us paid for, so it would be right for you to pay some of that back.